I don't necessarily think that was the message that was put through the Australian Racing Conference about a need to promote positive stories. The fact was, they've said there was a need to expand on the narrative of racing, which includes the good, the bad, and the ugly. You know, provided racing is getting a consistent story out there, you can improve on that. It's not just about promoting the good stories. And I don't recall people there during the 2 days of the conference saying it just needed to be the good stories.
No, but I'm saying what was sent out on Twitter by some people at that conference, and I mean, this show, without blowing wind up here, because you know I hate doing it, is proof that you don't need to do good stories all the time. You do the most interesting and the best stories.
You do accurate stories,
yeah.
And you put as many sides to the argument as possible, so that the audience has a chance to take away as much as they want to take away from it. I want to say a couple of things quickly before we move on to the racing element from the past few weeks, but I want to talk here just briefly about the Australian Racing Conference. Every racing conference around the world has a similar scenario. People come, they talk, they're passionate about it for that few moments that they've got the stage and they've got the audience attention, and often things just fall by the wayside. What needs to happen from this conference, because there were a lot of really good ideas put forward, is that racing must take ownership of them. And the consensus after it wrapped up on Friday late afternoon was that if we can put down 5 to 10 ideas, basically make an agenda from them, and put them out there, put it out to the marketplace, and these become working points for until we get to the next racing conference. So then you've got something to look back on and say, we said we were going to do this, we either have or we haven't. You know.
Okay. Were they diarised, and was an agenda set for the future?
Yeah, most definitely. So that's and you know, Bernard Sundry and Racing Victoria's team were the ones that hosted this event, and no doubt they'll be the ones that will drive a lot of the initiatives that come out of it. But that is going to be key. The other thing too, which needs to move forward, if we're going to really get the audience actively involved in events like this, there needs to be some sort of live televised event, whether it's via online or through one of the racing channels, or also through radio. It needs, you know, particularly, you know, we've got the digital component through Carnival now. Actually, perfect opportunity for something like that to actually be broadcast.
You're exactly right, because there
so.
But there is downtime.
You'll be back next week.
There's downtime on radio and television, and all these things can be recorded and put forward
Packaged
in
up.
downtime.
So this could be the other day for our show, downtime.
Makes more sense than the ego hour sometimes. All right, let's. And the other point before we move on again to racing, let's talk briefly about the Australian Racing Hall of Fame, the induction ceremony last week. Plenty of wonderful fanfare around the night. Carbine became a legend of racing.
I left so early I didn't go.
You've thrown me, Judy. But great talking point around Black Caviar. Yes, she deserves to be elevated to the Hall of Fame. And I interviewed Peter Moody for the Thoroughbred yesterday morning, and even he agreed there was no real need for her to have been inducted right here, right now. It could have been something that potentially could have waited a year or 2 or 3, so that her story has more chance of continuing to grow. She's in there now, so the next step will be she'll become a legend, and it'll probably happen very shortly. And to reinvigorate or reignite a little more interest in it. Yeah,
but I'm not sure how religious you two are, but money's my God, right? Now, really? What they didn't do, this was a dumb move financially. I know you're going from whether, you know, induct her once you know the full story of her career, but it was a dumb move financially because the joint was already sold out. So it should have been, next year, come and see Black Caviar inducted into the Hall of Fame. And you know what? She could have been the only one inducted, and you still would have filled the room, and you could have pre-sold it, you could have sold it for a bit extra a ticket, and you could have made a substantial earn out of this decision. And look, we all like to think we're more important than we are. The Hall of Fame is still a component, it's still an arm of the industry that needs to make money.
That's right.
So it was a dumb move financially. I just think it should have been a standalone event for the year. Next year, let's come and see Black Caviar inducted.
It pains me to say, but I agree with you entirely.
All right, that's it for the rest of the show.
In fact, what we might do, we might
let's go.
On that note, we might take a break, come back, because we're getting a stack of messages through. We've got the 3 winners through for our question to head off to the Racing Expo, Horse Racing Expo, brought to you by Main Connections. So no more answers that are required to be sent through to at RSN Sport Radio. The answer, of course, was Machine. The filly won last year's Australian Guineas. We'll take a break, come back and get into Caulfield plus your messages, 22 past 9.